All right, what is up, Sleepers fans? Welcome into the post-game recap of the Gonzaga win over Texas Southern. They pull away 98-43. I'm Matt, he's Connor against the Sleepers Media. We're going to break this whole game down for you. Let's just maybe start, Connor. What was your general takeaway from this game?
I think this is going to be one of those Gonzaga teams where the defense is the steadying factor. And
Mhm.
and we really haven't seen that from a Gonzaga team since 2017 when they made that run to the national championship. They were the number one ranked defense in the country. Um, and I get it. It's Texas Southern. But even when they were struggling early on to score,
Mhm.
Texas Southern made some plays, but the defense was really what kept Gonzaga kind of just like right even with Texas Southern.
Mhm.
Offense came around, but the offense came around early on because of the defense.
Yeah.
You had a couple of big steals from Braden Smith. You had the one play with Worley poking the ball out, taking it kind of coast to coast and finishing with a slam. Um, and I think if there's anything to be confident about in this game, it's that some of the bigger defensive questions have been answered positively.
Mhm.
Mario St. Supere looked decent on defense. Steele
Yeah. Yeah.
Venters, who many thought could be, especially with the leg injuries he sustained the last 2 years, a traffic cone. He wasn't. Braden Huff was solid defensively. I think all around this team can defend. They can switch 1 through 4. Really, they were switching 1 through 5 when Graham Ike was on the floor without Braden Huff. Like
He
they,
looked pretty good
they
on the perimeter a couple times.
yeah. The switch where they put Worley on the 5 man like that did not have much of a drop off defensively from having their center. So I think it's just going to be one of those teams where their offense will come around. We saw that in the
Mhm.
second half. Obviously, they finished on what a 61-16 run, something
Yeah.
like that. And but I don't know. I just think it's gonna be a fun team to watch defensively, which is not something Gonzaga's been able to say since Chet Holmgren was there, but really not something they've been able to say since like Brandon Clark and Rui Hachimura were there.
Yeah.
Because Chet Holmgren, I think, was more of a band-aid on a poor defense than he was like
Mhm.
the centerpiece of a great one.
I'm so glad you led with that because that's literally the first thing I have in my list of things here for you is this is Mark Few's best defensive team since dot dot dot. So I like the 2017 shout there. Yeah, it's just the perimeter guys are gonna be really intriguing, and I think it's guys who defend kind of differently too. So like depending on who the other team's best player is, you have options. It's not just like we have this one stopper and he's equipped to cover one type of player. Like you've got multiple dudes here that you could throw at somebody's, top player. And I think that's really cool. The offense definitely was a little bit of a challenge early. They start 2 of 12 from three with 7 minutes left to go in the first. They had been taking a lot of like no pass, no rhythm threes, and then finally started getting into the paint here a little bit more, few post touches. When those guys are going in the post, it just opens up so many other things for them. You saw a few more threes start to go. Not a prolific shooting night overall here. They finished 32%, 7 of 22. Maybe like to see them get a little closer to that, like 10 threes mark would be nice. But total rebounds, 56 to 27. Hard to argue with that, I think. Bench points was great with 48. Points in the paint, 56. Like when they wanted to do the right things and dominate, I think that's the recipe for this team. So if you're Mark Few and staff, you're bottling, here's the tape of the things that really worked for us. Just do this until some team proves they can stop it.
Yeah, it was one of those things, and they mentioned it early on. I think it was like 10 minutes into the first half. And Gonzaga was already 1 of 12 from deep, and 7 different players had missed a three-pointer,
Yeah.
um, which means they finished 6 of 10.
Hmm.
Like they started taking
Right.
good shots. I think they had some ridiculous number, like 3 assists on their first 9 buckets or something like that.
Hmm.
19 assists on 37 field goals. Like that's something that's not really Gonzaga basketball.
Sure.
Um, but you had 4 assists from Braden Smith, 4 from Graham EK. You had 3 from Worley, 3 from St. Superi. I think the positives you can take away from this is that the guard play from a playmaking perspective is pretty, there's not really a drop off, right? You've
Sure.
got Braden Smith, who's obviously the most experienced uh, point man in this rotation, but when they went big and had Worley at the point guard, it
Yeah, I
worked.
liked that. Yeah.
Um, Mario St. Superi, you'd love to see him finish those shots more.
Mm.
Both he and Braden Smith, right? They shot 3 of 12 from the field, but the pressure he put on the rim, he was able to find the open guys. And turnovers, I mean, they had a few. They had some in garbage time. They had like the weird one in garbage time where Diane, it was like, I think was trying to toss it to Orness, who missed it, and
I don't think he knew
there
what
was
he
a
was doing on that one. Yeah, that
there
was
was a
something.
miscommunication there. But let's call it 12 then, 12 turnovers.
Sure.
Right in line, forcing 17. Like
Mhm.
if they can stay positive in the turnover battle, that's going to be huge. Obviously, and it's Texas Southern. I mean, Gonzaga dominated the boards. It was about 35 to 25 or 37 to 25 when you really went, okay, like this game, like Gonzaga showed up.
Yeah.
Um, and then it was just, sharing the ball, finishing inside. Uh, the usual suspects were the highest scorers, that being, Grant Foster, EK, Huff. Um, the three starting front court players all within 2 points of each other, uh, which you love to see.
Yeah.
And then I actually here's the one thing that I found interesting was I got the starting lineup completely wrong. Like
Mm.
I thought Venters was a shoe, and he started both exhibition games. He is their best 3-point shooter. Adam Miller is their second best 3-point shooter. Both started on the bench. Um, Mark Few went defense over shooting, which didn't really work at first, but I think once they got into their rotations, like that was brilliant. I mean, they didn't need to shoot for a lot of this game because they were just forcing turnovers and getting into the paint. And that's kind of Gonzaga basketball at that point, but we'll see. They can't start slow in their next game. So,
Yeah, it might have to be that like fifth spot is kind of matchup dependent. Like
yeah,
Inocente was like so good defensively, and guys like didn't want to dribble around him. It felt like, which is
which might be the case against Oklahoma with Nigel Pack. They might
yeah,
stick him
just
in
let
there
him
to play
smother
on ball.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you could maybe say the MVP of this game was the Superior Court judge that granted the injunction for TGF to play here because I thought he was good and switchable and did some cool things and obviously not like his crazy peak Grand Canyon vintage performance, but didn't need to be. Like I liked that none of these guys had to play more than I think EK was the most at 22 minutes. I thought Miller was cool in his 17 minutes, 13 points in 17 minutes. You'd take that for an average for the season. You mentioned Saint Supri. Yeah, I think he was fun to watch for stretches and did some interesting things. Need to get a little maybe jitters out of the way for him too, playing his first game over here. But overall, good first start. I mean, you just this happens to every good team. I feel like where you're maybe a little sluggish coming out of the gates. You settle into what you do. The coaches, pull you aside in a timeout and kind of get you into what they want to do. I saw Ike tugging at his jersey at one point, and they never took him out. And I was like, oh, is this him gassed? And then they explained it on the broadcast that that's their nonverbal signal for a particular offensive set, which I thought was pretty interesting. But I did not have on my bingo card that this broadcast team would start talking about Love Island 8 minutes into the game. I thought it would take us
Oh,
well into the second half before they diverged completely from the action there.
yeah. No, I mean it was it that that this team kind of they tend to do that
Yeah.
in these games. I actually think my biggest takeaway, X factor for this team this season, um, the what is it now, 10 months that Jalen Warley has been with the Gonzaga program
Mhm.
has done wonders because he in particular of all these players is the key, I think, to unlocking all of their potential.
Mhm.
Because he can play the point guard on offense.
Sure.
He can defend 1 through 5. I
Yep.
mean, maybe not like a footer, but he can defend 6'9", six. Like if you need to, you could put him on a JT Toppin, and he can at least make it tough for JT Toppin to do what he
Yep.
does. Um, he got 4 steals three assists, only one turnover. Um, was grabbing boards, was getting at the rim. Like it's not going to show on the box score because none of his numbers were other than the steals. None of his numbers were super high. He was the sixth, tied for sixth in scoring on the team. But being able to have someone that is as versatile as he is on both ends of the floor, I think is going to do a lot for this Gonzaga team in just like you said, any matchup. I feel like Worley will play a completely different position.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something they haven't had. They haven't had someone as long and as athletic as him since probably Brandon Clark.
Which is, yeah, high praise. This would be just such a tough team for anybody in the country to match up with if there were situations where you had to go Worley at the one essentially, and you put him out there with, the front court that played the most of the minutes tonight and Venters. Like that's a big lineup, and I don't know too many teams in the country that are equipped to deal with that. And I think exactly what you just said about him being kind of the guy for tonight, like quietly, even if you believe in plus minus, which has some noise to it, especially in a one game sample size. He was a plus 33 tonight, and that was the highest on the team, and that does seem to represent the impact he had because it just the things seemed to hum along while he was out on the court. So I'm totally with you there.
And Davis Fogel will be in this rotation at some point.
He's
Like he
fun. I
played
like him. Yeah.
10 second half minutes,
Mhm.
10. He was 5 of 8, 11 points with 5 rebounds and an assist. Like
Yeah.
he just instant impact the minute he comes on the floor. I know it was garbage time, but like Texas Southern still had their starters out
Sure.
there. And just to see that he came out 30 minutes into 25 minutes into this game, and it was like all systems go the minute he touched the floor. When that is your ninth player on your team, like that is huge to have because what it means is that if EK gets into foul trouble and you don't necessarily need to tighten the rotations. You can plug Fogel in there and have Huff at the five and
Mm.
either Fogel or TGF or Worley at the four. It means that yeah, if you like TGF were to get hurt, like you have someone that can come off the bench and fill that wing role um, about as well as anyone you would expect who's the ninth man in the pecking order on a team.
Yeah.
So I came away, I think, impressed. It started off slow. I said Texas Southern, they're an experienced team. They're going to be physical. They can take advantage if you're lazy.
Mhm.
And it looked like that happened in the first 7 to 10 minutes of this game. But then the screws tightened and Gonzaga played Gonzaga basketball over the last 30 minutes. And like I said, it was a 61-16 run to end the game. So
We were talking on the group chat here about putting together a preseason top 25 or start of the season top 25. I ended up with Gonzaga 11th, and I didn't see anything tonight that would make me want to come off of that. So I think they're going to be able to do their thing and create a lot of havoc for some of these teams that they're going to play. Their next game coming up is Oklahoma. That is a pretty good test. They're a level up from a Texas Southern at the very least here. That'll be on Saturday, so that's November 8th at 7:30 Pacific. So I'm excited about that one. Connor, any last thoughts here before we wrap this one up?
no, it was a fun game. I think you learned quite a bit about the rotations that are going to happen with this Gonzaga team. I think you saw the defense, you saw the improvements, night and day from the past 2 seasons on the defensive end. And yeah, I mean, they have a gauntlet of point guards, athletic guards coming
Mhm.
up, and I think that's going to be a really good test for them. But yeah, make sure you keep tuning in to all the content that we're putting out here on Sleepers, all the previews and recaps, as well as their daily podcasts and other one-off videos that we'll be putting out throughout the season. I'm Connor, he's Matt, and we will see you next time.